I might come back to Tim Black's live stream that he's doing right now. I will drop you the link if you want to jump in on it. But it's a little too close to home for me to actually watch right now. So he's talking about a company that just laid off 900 employees, and apparently there's like a video of the actual Zoom meeting that they got, telling them that they were laid off. And these motherfuckers in charge of these companies, they're always like, this was so hard for me. This was such a hard decision. This is so hard for me. So let me recap my experience of being laid off in 2020. So we were perfectly capable of working from home the entire time that we were employed. The entire time. We were proposal writers. The only time we really needed to be in the office is if we actually had to print things, because we could use like the office equipment to print our actual hard copies to deliver proposals. And everything else we did, we could do remotely, because it was very much a thinking job where you had to like think and research, and you really don't need people around you for that. You need actually quiet, right? You need quiet. And so when we went into the pandemic, we were able to easily adapt to a work from home environment, because we did it half of the time anyway. Like half of the time. Like when we got sick, we were expected to continue working anyway, just work from home. That was an expectation that like if you were capable of like waking up and opening your eyes, you should still work. You should just work from home, where you're not going to be like in the office infecting other people with whatever you had. Right. So this was a realistic expectation of us. So we were working from home, and management had they still had issues with the fact that they couldn't physically see us, and they don't have trust and faith in their employees, and they don't know how to like measure performance based on deliverables rather than measure them based on whether or not you're looking over my shoulder and I happen to be checking my Gmail account. It was some stupid bullshit. But here's the incredibly cruel part about how I got laid off, and the other 100 people from my company who got laid off on the same day as me. In the weeks leading up to us being laid off, they forced us to use our PTO. They were forcing us, and they were calling us and managing it and making sure it fucking happened. They forced us to use our PTO. Early in the pandemic, where there was nowhere we could go, we couldn't use it as vacation time. Everything was shut down. What were we supposed to do with that vacation time? Other than be in the same place where we were actually working, but just not logging in, not doing anything. And half of the time they wanted us to be available at all hours anyway, so they would still call us on our days off and shit anyway. They forced us to use our PTO so that they wouldn't have to pay that shit out when they fucking laid us off. All of these companies got subsidized by that first economic recovery bill. They all got subsidized to cover their payroll. And there were absolutely no penalties. The entire purpose of that first package was so that people would not get fired during a pandemic. And there were absolutely no penalties against these companies for laying us off anyway. There were no fucking penalties. So they took the money and ran with it. They got a fucking profit out of the government. This is why a lot of progressives talk about there being a welfare state amongst corporations. They are taking our taxpayer money to increase their profits while shitting on their employees. And that's what happened to me. I was forced to run my PTO down in a situation where I had nowhere I could go because we were in lockdown. And then they fucking laid me off so that they wouldn't have to pay that off. They wouldn't have to pay the PTO out to me. If you're still doing the bidding of corporations, you really need to rethink your life. You're going to fucking hell.